I'll go live eventually. Yeah, what is going on right now? Why is it taking so long? Oh, here we go. 3, 2, 1. Okay, we'll let it ride for a second. Get her up there, get people on. Okay. All right, 3, 2, 1 for me. All right, what is going on, everybody? It's time to tune in and turn up to Primetime Automotive. This is your podcast for content creators in the dealerships making content on the daily. We are giving you tips and tricks every other week with some awesome guests. And you know what? I think this is going to be my podcast from now because Brian keeps ditching me. No, I'm just kidding. This week, he was lucky enough to grab floor seat tickets for the Lakers. So I told him he could take the night off. So I got an awesome special guest with me. This man is incredible. He is the man with the spreadsheet. He always has something cooking. And big friend of mine, let's welcome everybody, my friend, Colby Joyner. There he is.
What's up, Nate?
What's up, Colby? Thanks for hopping on. I know Brian ditched me again, so it's just it's nice to have a friend that's willing to hop on.
Of course, it's one of those things. I think he did it late. What did they say? It was January 10th is Quitter's Day, right? It's where everybody that started off at the gym and says, "Oh, look, I'm done. I'm going to quit." Like January 10th. So, I mean, applaud him to make it to the 13th, but step in when needed.
We started this before January though, so it was way before that. Oh, but this is welcome to Primetime, Colby. You're on Primetime.
I'm on. It's it's the dream. The dream is to be on Primetime.
Well, thanks for hopping on here. And today we are actually going to be talking about tracking ROI of social media. Is it even possible? And I thought of one of the most amazing, trackers of all time. And this is just because I've called Colby on multiple occasions like, hey, I need some help. I need a spreadsheet to show this or that, or how do I track this and this CRM? And you're like, dude, I made this report for this. I made this report for that. Here, take a look at this. Take a look at that. So when we had thought about this, and this is a topic on everybody's mind always, right? If you're talking to any general manager, if you're talking to any dealer principal, the one of the biggest questions for social media, and one of the questions that I get frequently is, what is the ROI of social? What can I actually, it's not really what can I expect. Usually it's just, does it sell cars is the real question that I get, right? Like, give me the one-to-one Google tracking UTM that gives me that you posted this one post and I sold a car, because that will make it really worth it.
Yeah, I mean, so, look, you and I have talked about that, wasn't it? You said, "Does it sell cars?" And it's like, "Oh yeah, disc." Like I said, on my whiteboard, I always had disc written up on the top left, of saying like, "Hey, whatever it is that you're doing right now, does it sell cars?" It doesn't. It's not. I don't think it's going to go down to a 1-to-1. Like, oh, I did this action and a car was sold. But as long as you're moving towards an action that the effort and the intention is for it to sell cars, then yeah, I think you're good.
Well, that's the thing, right? Like, I don't think there ever be a 1-to-1. There might be, like, you throw a link. Like, now we're in the day and age that everybody needs to have whatever it is that you are showing. For instance, there's a lot of live selling going on now. You go on TikTok, you go on the new platform. I don't know if it's a new platform, but the resurrecting platform of Whatnot or Fanatics. Everybody is on there. They are either ripping cards, they're selling shoes, shirts, like it's all over the place, right? And people just want to be able to buy it right there. So if you happen to catch somebody that's in that mentality, like, hey, I'm really looking for it, the link should be in there. And there's probably a way that, I mean, eventually I think you do that long enough and one person will click that link or whatnot. But there's so much more to social media than just the 1-to-1 doesn't sell cars. There's a lot more, I'd say, aspects and indicators that will show you whether or not people are resonating with your content, so that when they do in fact look for a car, you are going to be top of mind. And I think that's one of the biggest things, is that it's a long-term play. And I don't know what your experience is. I'm sure we have definitely talked about it, but let's take a step back, because we are literally jumping right in. Let's give everybody a little synopsis of who Colby Joyner is, how long you've been in the industry, and what's your take on content.
Man, I am just a simple dad, yard guy that, happens to do stuff within automotive, and, that's pretty much it. I've been in the industry over a decade. Got into it when I just needed to figure out a way to make more money for the family. And I can talk, which is, I know, not like the only prerequisite of being in automotive, but it helps. Everything else I can learn. But if I'm comfortable enough to just talk to random people and be excited when I'm talking to people about a product, like, then, I'll be okay. But yeah, I've been doing it for, over a decade. Really jumped in, I'll tell you. And I think I've said this a couple times. I was never really the best salesperson, like car salesperson. I think I have too much empathy to really push it through all the way. And so, but I quickly learned, like, hey, when I'm looking at the numbers, or if I'm looking at the, how many phone calls do I have to make to get somebody on the phone to get an appointment? Or how many leads do I have to get a customer in? And how many people do I have to talk to? It really started out at that point where I realized, like, hey, the everything I need to know is in the data. Everything I need to know is in that wheelhouse. But at the same time, being a personable guy and being able to have conversations and understand people and, quickly make friends and build network and relationship, it's a double-edged sword. It's like, hey, I know the data, but at the same time, I can talk about it in a friendly way, or in a way that maybe doesn't seem all super smart, because, guys, I'm not really smart. I just happen to have like this little ADD niche of, hey, I can look at numbers and they kind of make sense to me a lot better than they did when I was a kid. So, so that's how I got into automotive, just doing that. And I love content. I mean, I consume it all day, obviously. My daughters are in cheer, so when they're at cheer practice, like, I'm on TikTok or YouTube, or I'm consuming content all day and thinking of different cool ways to highlight or showcase something. But from a content side, like LinkedIn, I post just, like thought stuff, like, hey, what about this? Or what about this? Or here's a situation that you may want to be aware of. Social, when I say social media, like Facebook, it's more, I post my grass, or I post my family, and I post activities and events, and sometimes motivational stuff. But the motivational stuff is all the weird thing is, that's all for me. It's like, if I'm feeling something today and I'm going to post it, I'm posting it because I want to see it a year from now and see, what did I say? And so it's funny, some of the things that I post, like, I'll look back and it's like, oh man, I've reposted that like five years in a row, because it just meant, it's like, oh man, I forgot about that. And Instagram really just grabs whatever I post on Facebook
Or vice
Make it
versa,
make it easy.
you have
Yeah.
the other person who posts everything to their Instagram. It just goes to their Facebook.
Yeah. Yeah.
But you really actually you hit a point, and I want everyone that is watching right now, if you're listening to the podcast after this, to tell me how you consume content on each platform. Obviously, Colby was talking a lot about what he does on LinkedIn versus what he does on Facebook. And I believe that that is something that we should all, that I've talked about frequently, right? That diversifying the content across the platforms based on what somebody is looking for is a huge play in this field, especially as a content creator in an automotive space. We have to be creating content that is hitting a wide realm of different facets, because I don't know if you would kind of look at this the same way as I do, Colby, but the way that I've started to look at content and marketing is more of a life cycle. It's no longer like, it's not that funnel that we all came to love, and just, this is this one and this and this and this. But now it's a life cycle, because I do believe that eventually, if you don't keep your audience engaged and them delighting into your content, they eventually become strangers again, and you have to attract them again with other content. So it it just becomes a nice little circle of life cycle content marketing, where yes, you are going to make those lease specials available for people to see that are in there, that may go to your Facebook page and actually are enticed and want and are in the market, and they've seen your content enough to where they're actually engaged. That brings them to their website. There's the connection. But a lot of times the content that we have to make, because I don't know the actual stat for the individuals that are in the market at one time, but I can assume that it's a lot less than individuals who are not in the market at one time. So you have to be making content that will grab their sense of humor, that will grab their lifestyle, where they are in their life, their different psychodemographics. And then on top of that, you're going to hit them with the psychodemographic of that platform. Exactly what you were saying. What am I posting on LinkedIn? Well, if I'm on Facebook, I'm definitely posting about my grass. And if you haven't seen Colby's grass, it's actually top notch. This dude has a lawn cutter, not a lawn mower. And he asked me what the difference was. And I said, one goes like this and the other one goes like this.
It's so funny. It with the lawn stuff, and what's crazy is I tend to bring it up now in so many different conversations, especially just in automotive, because it's like, that's my thing. I really like it.
Yeah.
But when I started posting, I posted a couple photos of my grass. I think there was a time that it was like, I think Jordan Cox posted something, and I think Fred Lenartz posted something, and several people kind of posted grass stuff, and I was like, oh yeah, look at mine, it's cool. What's crazy is I posted it, and my posting of that was because I was proud. It was like, oh, look what I did. I was proud of myself for getting it to be where it was. And then I noticed that I had a lot of engagement on that. And so then I kind of would post a little bit more and would do a little bit more, and ended up joining like various private groups on Facebook that are lawn related. And the crazy piece is that when I was, when I was at a dealership before I started doing the lawn stuff in the way that I was doing it, I'd post, dealership stuff pretty much all the time, and then family stuff every once in a while, or just like reshare something. I started posting lawn content along with some like dealership or automotive stuff and some other stuff. So I started to vary more of my post.
Right.
What I noticed is that like I started to get a lot more followers without asking them to be followers, or without trying to push this agenda with it. I joined a group on Facebook. It's 90,000 members, and it's specifically about Bermuda grass, right? And it's 90,000 members. And I posted on there. Well, that has gotten me people that follow me. I've had people in the community of that ask me where's a good place to buy a car, because they know that I'm in automotive. right? And I think the biggest point about it is the being relatable to a much larger swath of content, ingesters, right? The people are going to be looking at content all day. They don't want to constantly it from an individual, right? Business is different, but from an individual seeing the same thing, because either they bought a car already and they're just like, they're happy, or they're not in the market and they're just kind of being nice and not unfriending you, yeah. But it's like, if you can have diversity in the posts, then at that point you're going to attract a lot more people. And when you do say, oh yeah, and by the way, I'm doing this, or I do this, and you get additional conversations happening, which spark things that you never thought were going to happen, which I love. So yeah, I'm going to keep posting my grass because I like it. Other people like it, but it opens up conversations for me to meet new and interesting people, not only just hobbyists that do that, but I've met CEOs of lawnmower companies in different countries and had conversations with them, on stuff. And now I'm connected with them on LinkedIn and connected with them on Facebook. It's just building a network that is not just one specific industry, one niche. It's building it out further. So I was talking to my brother the other day, and I jokingly said something, because we were like, oh, we could do this, we could do this. And I said, you know what? It'd be cool to have a company just called like, I got a guy for that. I got a guy, because there's a lot of times I get asked like, oh, do you know anybody that does this? Do you know somebody that does this?
Right.
Yeah. I know somebody that knows somebody, or I know them and they can get you connected, and I'll throw a little shout out, even though he's, not being very nice on the thing, but like, Brad's sitting there saying, oh, Colby makes LinkedIn content. I do, but but the thing is, like, Brad's really good at that. Brad's excellent at being able to say, hey, look, I'm connected to you. I'm your friend. I can help you out in any way. And I know somebody that can help you, even if it's not something that's going to benefit me. I know somebody. And so let me get you connected. And I think building that network in that way is massively useful, because then the effort and energy that you put into your social posts, it's going to be 5-10 fold based off of the network versus trying to build it from scratch in such a small niche.
Right. I mean, but that comes from, like, air quoting, building a brand, right? Like, people buy from people they know, like, and trust. And brand is that sentiment of, do I know him? Do I like him? Do I trust him? Because if all you do, and whenever I walk around and I talk about this concept, right? If I just go to a networking group, and I just say, hey, they're like, hey, how's it going? Hey, I have this car. It's a $499 a month with 0 down. I work at Mohawk Honda. Okay. Like, that's what we're doing on social media. If that's all we're doing, if all we're doing is showing coupons and promotions that we're not showcasing the people, their passions, and the community, then we're not building a brand. If we're making content, we're not building a brand. We're just trying to sell something. And selling things, you might get a little bit of traction, but it's going to be a heck of a lot harder if that's all you do. And if you're not building a brand, if you're not showcasing your individuals, and this is something I like to tell my salespeople too, is because we encourage our salespeople to brand themselves at our dealerships, almost to a fault sometimes, like, but you talk to any salesperson, it doesn't even matter the industry. Like, who do you want to sell to? I want to sell to everybody. Great. I'm glad that you want to sell to everybody, but you're not going to sell to everybody because you are going to attract a different person than your salesperson to the left of you and to the right of you and to the front of you and the back of you, right? So in order to differentiate yourself, it's the same thing that we're doing on our social medias, because the person can go buy the same Civic, can buy the same Chevrolet Silverado down the road at anybody else's dealership. There's 4 within a 20-mile radius from Mohawk Honda. But why are they going to choose Mohawk Honda? Then, once they decide to go to Mohawk Honda, who are they going to choose to work with? Because they're going to vibe the best. There's a reason why they make floor managers, because they know the customer that's going to have the best time with the right salesperson. And that's just getting to know the salesperson. But how's the floor manager doing that? They're sitting down, they're talking with that salesperson and understanding the things they like, the things they don't like, their temperament, all of these different things, and who's going to vibe best with them. It's the same thing on social media.
And it's going to be so much more important. I know, like you're saying, like, hey, who do you vibe with? Who is the person that you feel the most comfortable with having this process be done? I think it's going to become increasingly more important to make sure that you present your authentic self, because then at that point you don't have to, there's a phrase that says it's easier to tell the truth 100% of the time than 99%.
Yeah.
Because when it's 100% of the time, all you're saying is the truth.
Right.
But if it's 99% of the time, like, you have to think about when you want to not be your true self. And I think as people put themselves out on social media, just being yourself and what does actually matter to you. And it doesn't have to be this grandiose thing. It could be as stupid as grass, but I like it, right?
We watch grass grow.
But the fact is, I put it out there. I'm genuine in terms of what I like and why I like it. And it attracts people that say, hey, me too. We may not agree on football teams. We may not agree on presidents. We may not agree on, whether you want to be at the beach or you want to be in the mountains, but we agree that we like grass, so we can become friends. Right.
Right.
And I'm using that as an example. It's like the thing I did love, there was over the summer, there was that kind of trend of everybody taking these videos and twisting them where it's like, oh, this person's fallen off a stretcher and then he rolls on the showroom floor.
Oh, yeah.
And that was capitalizing on content, capitalizing on what people are watching and how they're, receiving the content just to get your eyes in front of. It was almost kind of like, I gotcha. You have to watch this now.
It was a visual, I think we used to call that clickbait.
Yeah. And which I think it was great. It was funny. Like, I loved watching all of it happen. But I think here's the thing is that it's, number one, it's difficult to consistently repeat that at a scale that is relevant. Number two, I think at some point your customers or the people that you're trying to get hooked in are going to be like, dude, okay, yeah, it was funny, but why are you still trying to push this down my throat? And that's the thing I like about what y'all did up there with the videos, right? The dealership type stuff. I love that y'all did that because you weren't selling anything. You know what I mean? At least the way that I was seeing it on social, it was entertaining for me because it's like, okay, I get it. It's funny. I think at least 2/3 of marketing managers or social managers or internet managers in the past have thought of, we should do something like kind of like The Office. It would be funny, but nobody would ever do it. And y'all did it and you did great. And I loved it. And I'm giving you props here for the case of it was unique content that people wanted to see. You weren't pushing any idea down anybody's throat, but what you were doing was kind of saying, look, we're okay with being a little goofy. We're okay with being, having fun at what we do every single day. Yes, we have a product. Yes, we would love to help you out if you're in the market, but if not, keep watching. That's fine. We'll still entertain you. And then we're not doing it on purpose. We're doing it just because that's who we are and we enjoy this, Right. I think that is what made everything on your side blow up in that good way. If it's too much of one thing that is just straight, I'm just trying to sell you, eventually it seems fake. It seems like it's, all you're doing is trying to make money off of somebody, which, the phrasing of when you ask somebody like, hey, did you get a good deal? And really, as long as they feel like they got a good deal, then they got a good deal.
Right.
It's not a matter of, I got $6,000 off, or I got this 0% interest rate, or they gave me so much on my trade. Like, they're not really going to say that. And if they do, great. But it doesn't matter whether the deal down the street was better or your deal was better. Did the customer leave feeling like they were, served in the right way? They were taken care of, and they walked away feeling like, you know what, I'm confident and I'm happy that was done. Then great. It was a great deal, regardless of how it was organized. That's what the point needs to be. It kind of away from the money and more on the experience and the availability.
It definitely is 100% the experience. I mean, there's countless amount of times at Mohawk Honda that people didn't pay the lowest price and they still felt like they got the best deal ever. And they did, right? The best deal ever is just the value prop, the value that they feel that they're getting, right? And the value that you are giving. I mean, it's not how they feel. It's like, what actually are they getting that's most valuable to them? If a little bit bump in payment, but they're also going to get a salesperson that they can call literally at any time that's going to reply back to them that they have a little question about service. They have a question about whatever it happened. Like, that is worth it to them, right? It's not just the payment. It's not just the zero down, whatever it is a month. It's finding the right car. Well, for us, it's finding the right car, making it affordable, and making sure that you have a good time with your whole entire car owner's journey, so that you do want to come back, that you do tell your friends, yeah, you got to go see so-and-so. They really took care of me. And they still do. Like, I got his phone number. I can call him. I can text him, and they are responsive. Because I think there's, and right there is like, those are the content pieces you get, right? Like, who is this person? What do they care about? What are all these little value things? And that actually comes through different branding pieces that you're making. If you're making a questions and answers video that you're asking them this or that, what is the family tradition you have? Like, all of these things that I'm kind of going through, all of the videos that all the question and answer videos in my head that, like, what's your football team? How are they doing? And like, if they're doing bad, they're like, I don't want to talk about it. Like, that's what someone can like relate to, right? Like, those are the things. It's like, oh, like, they actually care about football? Yeah, of course we do, right? Like, of course, but there's been,
we're just a normal human being like you,
right? but the thing is that I will incorporate all of us, because we have to take some responsibilities. We've taken on this sense of us versus them for so long that they have felt it, that our consumers and customers have felt it so much that the resentment still lingers. And even those that are working to do the best and be the best will still have to come up across that. And this is exactly where your content is going to be created. And this is how the content is going to really change that perspective of all of those that would have that. And it's also a good play for the customers that had a good experience, because now people can actually believe them because of all of the content you're making. They're like, hey, yeah, I don't believe you. Well, just go check out what they're doing. Like, right? Like,
yeah.
Here it is.
Brian, chimed in. I'm guessing that Wimby is just making embarrassing the Lakers right now, so he has nothing better to do other than comment on this now. But he chimed in like, yeah, sprinkle the funny videos or those gotcha kind of videos in that, that those hooks. And I completely agree. Like, that's the kind of the point is, it doesn't have to be the same thing every time, all the time, every month, every time of the month. Sprinkle the stuff in and have fun with it. But it's kind of going to that A/B testing, like, you're going to know what trend or what piece that you should kind of hop on a little, stronger, because you're going to see a response from it. Talking about an ROI of social media, right? The investment doesn't have to just be dollars. It's time and effort and energy and all the stuff that's in there. And are you getting something in return for it? When you are diversifying the posts and you're pushing them out there, you're going to see which ones are going to have the likes, the comments, and the shares, and the messenger, bots, messenger, chiming at you saying, "Hey, look, I'm ready to buy a car." You're going to see the uptick in engagement, or the uptick in traffic to your website. You're going to see those things based off each post and when you posted it, what, who's in the post, what are you trying to push? Is it a truck or a car, or is it service, parts? Right. Having that diversity, I think, is hugely important, but also understanding what do you want your return to be? Because of course, using the disc philosophy, does it sell cars? Are you only going to measure it with, hey, did we have an increase in sales? Or are we going to measure it with, are we refilling our pipeline? Or are we capturing more eyes without having to pay money? Are we doing it from an organic piece, or are we spending money on ads, and pushing those out there? And how do those look? And what's the difference in which one is increasing? An ad may be like an ad. You're spending money on an ad that isn't necessarily personal, but then you're creating organic content that is highly personal, or at least your attempt is to try to get people to, engage with it. If you're having a lot of engagement on organic content that you're pushing out there, and people are going to your site and people are commenting and they're sharing it and they're doing all this other stuff, you may want to look at maybe just doing more engagement on, or doing more organic posts and trying to just capitalize on that without spending money. Take that money and put it into additional engagement pieces, whether it's a better camera, or whether it's, more people, whether it's, scenery, or, you name it, better content delivery, creative that you want to put in there.
Right.
Or, you have to test it. You have to go in and say, what do we want our results to be? And how do we measure it? Is it by profit? Is it by volume? Is it by reviews? Is it by, engagement and happiness, and how many eyes do we have? Is it by market share? Is it by, or you name it. Saying ROI, I think everybody thinks, oh, okay, if I give $1, do I get 2?
Right.
If I give $1, do I get 10? Well, okay. Well, if I make a post, do I get another follower? And how many people does that follower know? And how often can I get them to engage with it? And how many people can I get to engage with the stuff that they repost, which now I got 3 followers. And, it's like when something bad happens, everybody knows about it. When something good happens, nobody really talks about it. Like, if we can highlight the good and make it enjoyable and make it where people want to engage, you can do a lot with organic, without having to spend money.
That's a good point. And there's also another point that I want to put out there for anyone that's listening. And if you're watching Spotify, if you're watching or listening on Spotify, make sure you're checking out the Automotive Creative Collective over on the Facebook group page. This is a dedicated page just for content creators in the dealership to kind of help you out. And if you're just hopping on the live here, we are live every other Monday, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And today we have our guest still talking with us, Colby, and we're talking about this notion of ROI and what is the ROI? What are you actually looking for? And one thing that I want to pose to anyone that asked that question, right? And those general managers, dealer principals that are asking because they're genuinely curious about, should I hire somebody in my dealership? And obviously I've gotten this question a lot, and the question, there's a lot that you can say towards it. And one thing that I came to realize is, one, if someone's making branded content across these platforms for a long period of time, so I've been doing it for almost 8 years at this point, there's actually it's a negative positive. And the reason I say that is that your ad dollars become more effective in your targeting process, and you're paying less than if you had no branding on any platforms. You're also paying less if you were to hire somebody, a vendor, a freelancer. If I've done some research in my local area. I'm in upstate New York. I asked a buddy of mine, how much would you charge for a 30-second video? And I showed him some of them, like whatever I had. And he was like, I would charge $1,500 minimum. Wow. One video, $1,500 to shoot, edit, and then you do the posting. Well, if you're making over, and I forgot the count that I had, but it was like, just think about how much content you can make in 1 year. I wish I actually had my stats, but it's over 100. It's over whatever it is. Like, you're saving a massive amount of money by hiring one person that's making content every single day. And at Mohawk, we're posting 2 to 3 times a day along and our delivery photos. And there's things that you can make with your phone. Yes, but my belief is that there has to be a wide gamut of different styles and different types of content. So just iPhone content all the time may not work, because at this point in time, with individuals that have phones, you can start to see the difference between a camera photo and a phone photo. You can see the difference between an edited video and on a phone versus a mirrorless at this point. And unless someone does a crazy amount of, you always see those comparisons between the iPhone and like a Red camera. Like, unless you're doing massive edits with color correction and all that, which, let's be honest, in a dealership, we're typically not going to do that for fast, efficient content that's trying to be authentic. But you have to have a full tools, and you have to have the sweet, cool looking vehicle that has that cinematic style, but you also need to have the phone selfie and talking to the camera and the lives that are like this and like this, and so many different styles of content to attract and keep them engaged and allow your whichever part of their journey, their life cycle content journey they're in, to keep them engaged with your platform, with your brand, so that when it all comes down to it, yes, the ROI is there because they've seen your content, they've interacted with it, and having somebody in the dealership, one, can see the trends, because now followers mean diddly squat for the most part. Obviously, they still mean something, right? Because I want everyone to take out their phone. I want you to post a reel, and I want you to tell me whether or not the little circle that tells you followers versus non-followers is 50% or not. Because right now, that's what I'm seeing across many different platforms, is that a lot of my videos on Mohawk Honda, Mohawk Chevrolet, Rap Kings, Collision Center, even my own personal and professional pages, a lot of my content that are reels are reaching a 50% of my not 50% of my followers, but 50% of that reel went to followers and the rest went to non-followers. And that's what you're starting to see now because of the interest graph that's coming in and all of these features that come from Meta. Now that you have notes that you can do, are you including stories on your business page? Are you taking advantage of that? Are you taking advantage of the notes now on TikTok? And do you know that if you have a longer, this literally says it in the native app of TikTok, descriptions, very long descriptions get 3 times the amount of reach. Literally. Oh, I wonder if I can pull it up real quick and show everybody. Well, we have the impending doom in 6 days of TikTok, whether or not it's coming around or not. But for now, we're still going to show everybody. Let's see here. No, I don't want to add that to my story. We're doing this live, so I wasn't anticipating it, but let's see. Next. Oh, they took it out. Look at that. Man, there goes my whole thesis. They took it out, but it did say, I promise you. Because I showed a buddy of mine, I was like, it literally says 3 times more if you have a long description. That's wild. But those are the things like ROI, brand, awareness, engagements. What are engagements are changing now? And having somebody, I mean, you can have your outside vendor do it too, but someone that's in every day that can take advantage of the authentic content daily, such as the notes, the stories, things like that nature, community engagement. Yes, you can kind of outsource that a little bit, but if you have somebody that's in there talking to your people every day, there's a different style of voice reacting back or messaging or commenting back than if you're talking to an outside vendor.
Think about it this way, and maybe this is a good analogy. Like if you have somebody that comes in, sits your dealership down and says, tell me about you. I have 30 minutes. Tell me your story. Right? They may jot it all down, tell the story, and then they turn around and they use that story that they heard in a 30-minute conversation to go market and advertise and try to bring people in. They're an outside person, outside vendor, outside agency type thing, which I know there are agencies out there that are amazing at doing what I'm about to say. But like you have somebody like you or anybody that's in the dealership all the time, constantly hearing the stories, constantly experiencing the people, constantly looking at the socials and see how people are responding. What would you rather have as a person that's telling that story? Somebody that lives it with you or somebody that just stops by every once in a while to check in?
Right.
Right. And I think that's the difference between, hiring somebody for a $1,500 30-second video and spending a lot of money if you want a lot of content, or having somebody internally that has the skills and ability to tell the right story.
Right. Yeah, definitely. I mean, that's a valid question that I would definitely propose to everybody, whether you're a general manager or have a say in personnel and opportunities, and getting one. If maybe you do have somebody in there, do they have the resources necessary to build the story, to build the brand for your store? And are you willing to give them creative freedom, as long as they, make sure they feel like they have the creative freedom? They can come to you and ask to greenlight specific things, but eventually, once you allow them to be their creative self and build that authentic brand for your dealership, you will see a difference. And I think another thing too, it builds a lot of confidence in your salespeople and your service advisors that's actually in the video. And this is my own anecdotal evidence, right?
I agree with you.
When someone's in, when I see the transformation from someone who's like, dude, I can't be in a video. This is way too much. Like, I don't know what to say. I don't know what to do with my hands. But then you get them into the video, and then you slowly begin to place them in more videos. They become more comfortable, right? Video after video, photo after photo. Then they start to become more confident in themselves because, like, oh, this is not that bad, right? And it's just so it's a different vibe. There's a different atmosphere when someone's on camera that has been doing it for a little while and has the passion of where they're working at the same time. Totally different. It's a different thing, and I hope that everyone in the dealerships are able to experience it at some point.
I think there's someone at the dealership. There's someone, and it could be a salesperson, could be your receptionist, your BDR, BDC rep, could be somebody on the internet team could be a sales manager, could be somebody in fixed, right? There's somebody at the dealership that is more than comfortable with and has no ego, basically, to say, yeah, I'll get in front of a camera and say something. Sure. I'll speak my mind because I am passionate about this place and I do love it here and I think it's great. Like, you get one person, it's like, faith the size of a mustard seed. Like, you don't need a lot. You just get one person that jumps in there that can start something. A lot of times you'd be surprised with that, especially when, like, we had a thing at one of the dealerships I worked at before. It was a website. We used Monday.com, and it was a way for people to upload content that they made for the dealership or for themselves in personal branding that we could take in its raw format and republish and repost on the company pages. But it was a push to try to say, like, hey, look, here's ideas, here's the offers, here's things that we're focusing on this month. It's all here. Everybody has availability for it to see it because we champion you submitting and doing content, that supports the dealership. It's not just the one person that we always post as the person that markets us, because you never know who's watching.
Nope.
It could be a male on it. It could be a female on it. It could be, different ethnicities. It could be different languages. It could be different types of vehicles, different situations. You could have somebody that's talking to moms that need 6 seats and, good gas mileage and whatever, or you could be talking to dads that need 6 seats and good gas mileage and the same thing. Like, you'd never know. And so the more that you're able to, again, diversify and try to capture whoever you can. I mean, to feel included when you're scrolling through Facebook or LinkedIn or anything, to feel included, to be like, oh, they're kind of speaking my language. Well, yeah, it's on purpose. Like, most of the time, the language that you see is ads that are being directed towards you. But if it's an organic piece that comes across as like, man, they're kind of speaking my language, they're talking in a way that is familiar to me, I'm going to more than likely tune in the next time I see it cross my feed.
Right. So let's talk a little bit about, let's say someone, first off, I need to get that Monday.com set up because I have that and I need that. The second thing is, I want to go talk directly to the individual that's there now, that's in the dealership, that has been asked, I want you to create, I want a report for ROI. What would you do? How would you instruct them to create almost like a spreadsheet or a report that would showcase the work that is being done?
So really, I mean, we can dive it down to if it's for them, right? If I'm trying to instruct
general manager, general sales manager, whoever.
Yeah. So if it's for that, then I'm going to put in there like, hey, okay, how many posts did we do in general? What type of posts did we do? What was the engagement on there? What was the reach? How many impressions did we get? Did we include a link in there? And if so, like, how many link clicks did we get? Did we get shares, reposts? Did, the biggest thing, like, I was looking at, and unfortunately I can't share, but like, I was looking at, something earlier, and it was on organic social on a report, all spreadsheet stuff, but on there it's posts, the reach per post on average, content interaction, engagement per post, new followers per post, link clicks per post, minutes viewed, impressions, and average impressions per post, right? And so
how'd you get those KPIs? Did you just go through natively, or did you use anything to help you out with that?
No, that was natively looking on the back end.
Okay.
It was natively going through those reports and saying, okay, well, I want to take a look at this, and then bringing it together, because I would track them from an individual store all the way to the entire group, so it's like, I want to look at everything as a whole. And I didn't have anything on there that was like, it should be this. This is the metric that it should be.
Right.
But you can obviously tell if you're comparing things month over month and the averages. Are you sitting this month above average with additional stuff this month? And maybe, yeah, you're doing well. But if you also have it broken down to the type of posts, hey, we did 2 videos, we did a meme post, we did a photo post, we did an offer post, we did these things, breaking it down like that. Okay, which ones got us some traction? And which ones are we going to now go into the next week, maybe increasing the ones that are doing well and maybe decreasing the ones that aren't? The biggest thing about it was also just making sure that are you maintaining consistency? Are you consistent with what you're doing? Because the consistency will allow you to grow organically. Like, you're going to just grow. Going out there and getting all, hey, we're going to go and get this done and it's going to be awesome. And you do it for a week and a half and then you stop. And then at the end of the month, the GM says, hey, how's all this stuff going? It's like, oh, well, we did okay. We probably need to do X, Y, and Z. It's going to be short-lived when it comes to everybody within the organization, even from the executives down, championing that. It's going to be harder for a social media person to go out there and try to get people to interact or be on video or be a part of it, because they're not going to see the positives of it. They're going to see that, oh, something was posted, my face was on it and it got 1 like, or it got 1 comment, and the comment was the dealership that said, hey, here's the link to go buy this car.
Right.
It's being consistent and continually growing. So like, I would look at that from an organic side, and the biggest thing about this is, and I'm going to kind of stress this a little bit.
Yeah.
Having the conversation with the person that is requesting the report and the person that is going to be making the decisions on whether to continue, not continue, to increase, to decrease, to do all this stuff, having a conversation with them to understand, number one, what's important to them, right? How can you translate what's important with these metrics, and do they understand what the metrics mean? Because I can give a massive, and I've done it more often than I care to count, given a massive report with every little nuance of data. And I'm like, look at all this stuff. And it can be overwhelming because there's a lot of things that you may not know. Like, is that even a thing to track? Well, I thought that it could be, because, hey, you never know. The numbers, if you divide this by this and you do this over a period of days, maybe it is a metric that you can create and track and see if there's growth or not growth. You never know until you kind of put it together. So that's a lot of the stuff that I put together was like that. But the importance of it is, whoever is requesting the report, or if you say, hey, I want to make a report to showcase what I am doing, make sure you have the conversation with the person who's going to be receiving it and looking at it and making decisions off of it. Do they understand it in the way that you understand it? And if not, how can you structure it so that they do understand it, so that there's not an argument there or a confusion where it's like, oh, all they do, or they're giving me reports, or they're doing this. And I say that because that's been an issue of mine. I'm using my issues and my failures and things that have happened with me where, what I think is a valid, metric or KPI to track, it may not be understood by everybody. And therefore, am I wasting my time putting it together because they're not really going to understand it? It comes down to the communication. What is the end goal? What's the result that you want? How are you going to measure it? And the people that are going to judge the measurement on whether it's good or bad, do they understand how you're judging it? And is it all agreed upon? Like, we are going to measure it by this until we decide to not measure it by that. And when we decide not to, we're going to change it.
All good stuff. All good stuff. Well, hey, it has been almost 50 minutes, 55 minutes, man. Crushing it. I just wanted to say thank you so much for hopping on the podcast today. If someone wants to connect with you, where are they going to find you?
Well, they can find me on the 2 places that I am there all the time, or like actively there, is going to be LinkedIn and Facebook. So either way, Colby Joyner. You can just search Colby Joyner and I'll pop up. I think there's another Colby Joyner, but I live in Texas. So Colby Joyner in Texas, that's me.
There's only one of them in Texas, even though it's the biggest state, right?
Right.
Well, thank you so much, Colby. And make sure that y'all reach out to Colby, pick his brain. He is one of the smartest people I know. And he is a wealth of knowledge. Hey, if you are watching the podcast, thank you so much. If you are hopping on live or watching the replay, thank you so much. Throw a comment, throw a question. We'd love to answer those, just like we have throughout this podcast. And if you are listening or watching on Spotify, thank you so much. Hit that follow button. And this is Primetime Automotive, where we tune in, turn up, and make prime content. Well, we help you make prime content. And what is prime content? Prime content is content that is personal, relatable, and relevant, informational, memorable, entertaining, and engaging. My name is Nathaniel Greklick, and this is Primetime Automotive Podcast. I will talk to you guys on the next one. See ya.